Good morning to you. It's Daybreak at iFiber One News Radio. I'm Jeff Slakey. We're going to focus on Shelton here, and we've got some great guests in studio to do just that. From Public Works, it's Gregory, and from PUD3, it's Joel Myer. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
First things first, I know we have something to talk about. There's an actual topic of agenda today here. But what we're going to do first is kind of look back over the past week, how the city did in response to that tragic train derailment. One of the only two options to get around came right through Shelton. And I know, Joel, you were there as well on Johns Prairie. You saw lots of cars as well. How do you think the city worked out well? I mean, I saw a lot of signage for folks to, because for people who don't know, it could be kind of confusing getting in and out of town here.
Yeah, and first of all, we just want to thank everybody, and especially the citizens of Shelton and Mason County, for just being patient through that entire process. I know it was a lot of difficulty and a lot of time getting around, but yeah, it worked out really well with the state. We worked with them to set up some detours, directed about 40% of the traffic coming down Highway 3 up Johns Prairie. And then the rest of the traffic was coming through onto Railroad and routing them back out to 101 off of Railroad, which worked really well.
So I guess there were three options for folks to do: go Johns Prairie past PUD and then get on 101 there by Wallace Neyland, or up Railroad to the city center, or if they wanted to, just regular Highway 3 at that first part. Were those all, do you know which one was used more or less? Or
the Railroad to 101 was used the most. We actually we worked with the state, and the state was actually flagging folks off of Highway 3 south of Railroad Avenue. So we were trying to keep them out of all of those other traffic signals, and just route them right out Railroad to 101, which seemed to work really well.
Nice. Yeah. And then, Joel, what did you see there at Johns Prairie? You said you were telling me earlier that there was some major backups, obviously, but did it seem like it was a heavier increase? It seemed like more folks were taking the Roy direction there, and 20 miles less. You can kind of see the niceness in that, but still there was a lot of folks on the roadway.
There were, and there's one thing that really struck me as I was seeing all the traffic is, imagine up until the mid-1970s, all of Highway 101 traffic came through Shelton on Olympic Highway South through downtown Shelton and up Olympic Highway North. And then when the bypass was built, that diverted the traffic out to just outside of Shelton. But I was thinking deja vu for some folks that had experienced that shift, seeing all that traffic in downtown Shelton going, yep, this is the way it used to be.
Wow. Well, good on you guys and your crews there at Public Works setting up those things, and good on the citizens of Shelton for sure, as there was a lot of increased traffic around these parts. All right, you guys are on today to talk about a collaboration with the PUD3 and the city, a brighter future with a grant for continued street light upgrades. Joel, let's start with you on this.
Sure. Well, PUD really likes collaborating with other agencies for the benefit of our community, and this was a perfect thing for us. We had started the retrofit of many of the old-fashioned streetlights to high-pressure sodium. That's be the last time you hear me use that in our discussion here. But we replaced about 500 of those lights up until recently, and this grant is going to allow us to complete the retrofit of another 250. And so there are a couple of benefits you're going to see. I think from a public safety standpoint, the brightness of the light frequency, or the color is much better for seeing colors, because those old-fashioned lights had that orange cast. And that orange cast, if I'm a policeman downtown and I'm trying to describe this guy was wearing this colored jacket, driving this colored car, you really couldn't do that very well because the colors really aren't true. This is going to help in that, but also from a pedestrian and motorist standpoint, you can see the road a lot better. From the PUD standpoint, our benefit is very clear. We want to be able to help our customers save electricity. And in this case with the city, we're talking about 416,000 kilowatt hours per year. That's enough for about 35,000 homes.
Oh, wow.
So that not only saves energy and costs for the city of Shelton, but it helps the Mason PUD3 meet our state mandated conservation targets that are set through the State Energy Independence Act. So it's a win-win, I think, for all of us. Cost savings, energy savings, and meeting state mandates.
When people start to see the trucks out doing these retrofits and these upgrades, is it going to be city crew, PUD3 crew, or a combination of the both? You guys working together?
It will be all PUD3. They
Okay.
will be out
Yes.
there doing the work on the roads and getting those lights installed.
What does it do? I mean, Joel talked about some of the benefits, but from a public works perspective, I would imagine less downtime. These lights last longer and things like that.
They do. The one big benefit that we saw, other than the ones that Joel already mentioned, was the cost savings to us. That's really this grant that we received through the Transportation Improvement Board. That's their focus, is to put more money back into transportation so that we're not paying for street lights, but we're paying for actual pavement on the ground. And that's really what this was for, was to recoup that savings and put it back into the roadways. So that's what we did. We worked with TIB. They normally don't do these grants where they pay for the lights that have already been done. They understood where we were at, though, and the constraints that we were up against. And they worked very well with us, along with the PUD, to get this grant filed. And we were very surprised that they approved it and let us move forward with it. But they saw the overall benefit, not only for the lights that had already been done, but the future lights that are going to be replaced, and that cost savings that we will reap the benefits of and be able to get back into our transportation plan and not pay for energy, but pay for actual sidewalks and asphalt.
Are there other things that these lights options? I feel like I've driven around and seen these LED lights in different areas, and they've had solar collectors on top of them and things like that. Is that an option, and does that help? I mean, obviously it would help a little bit, but are those things that PUD3 can do to those?
Well, those lights that you've seen were part of an experiment that the county did a couple of years ago, and where they placed them, and some of them worked out okay, some of them not so well. So pretty much we're focusing on the standardization of light emitting diode technology as being the technology we'll be deploying. And so those really are an old experiment. The new application is what we're seeing here with the city. We've worked with the Port of Allen and several other entities to lighten up their life, so to speak, with the LEDs. I think that a really important point that was made just recently about the cost saving, we might be able to give you a little bit more of a comparison here, is that the grant is for about $267,000, and for that investment from state money, the city is going to be saving over the next 15 years $570,000. That's a pretty good chunk of change, and as it was pointed out, that's money that can go into the infrastructure instead of paying for the old lights that gobbled up energy. By the way, these old lights are kind of the lights that are used in marijuana production, because they're high voltage, high light spectrum and things like that. But anyway, getting back to the real story.
Can you sell these lights to operations that do that?
These are being surplused. We're taking them out of operation, and when they're out of operation, that means we don't use them again, because we're trying to recoup the savings through the installation of them.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, a little gee whiz tidbit for you there.
Always learn something here.
I've learned more than I want to about that type of operation.
How long do these lights, LED lights, last?
About 11 years.
Wow.
So there's a big advantage there from an operational standpoint from Mason PUD3, is that we'd be sending our crews out about every 2 years to replace bulbs. And in this case, we're probably not sending them out for 11 years to do that. The installation is much faster when you're doing the work, because before, when you put the old lights out, you turn them on and wait for them to warm up and become bright. With the LED lights, you turn them on for the test, they're right there, and it's working and all that. So the maintenance and the operations from our standpoint as the PUD, it helps us, because we're not spending as much time or effort or even cost on those lights as we would otherwise with the older ones. So that saves us time and money for our linemen to be out in the field doing what they should be doing, maintaining the distribution system for the customers.
Are they strictly photovoltaic? I mean, do they go on at night, turn off in the morning, or is there somewhere a central point Like, let's say something happens and Chief Moody needs lights on in the city. Is there a button that you could press where all those lights would come on regardless of the time of day?
I think individually they're light sensitive, so they use an electric eye to come on and off. There are some cities that actually centrally control them, and you've probably seen in West Olympia the lights near the Black Lake Boulevard.
Yeah.
They can turn those on and turn them off as traffic volumes increase or decrease during the day and the night. There are some communities, they actually have varying levels of lights, like Chattanooga, I believe, is one of them, that if they have high crime areas and they send police out there for an incident, they can just crank those lights up maximum, and they've got like almost a daylight for them to be there for safety. But in this case, it's essentially we're using the electric eyes on and off.
What's the timeline on this? How long is it going to take to get all these done?
I can't answer that right now. They're much faster to replace.
Sure.
And normally what we do is we have our after-hours linemen do that work. And I would get back to you on that.
I remember
I'm not
when
sure.
these first started rolling out and they were being replaced as the old lights would burn out.
Right.
Is that kind of where you're thinking on this, or it just kind of depends?
No, we're thinking with this grant, this will be
Let's get
an
this done.
immediate upgrade, and let's get out there and get them done.
So major cost savings, better visibility for law enforcement, better visibility for drivers. I'm seeing a lot of upsides here, Joel. This sounds like a pretty good deal and a great partnership as well between the city and PUD.
On our end, also, the customer service aspect is very important to us. We get a lot of calls that it's a light over a bus stop in the morning, and a mom is worried about the kids out there.
Sure.
We end up getting that call. We end up routing it through the PUD, and then they have a service crew go out and fix those. We don't end up with as many of those with these LED lights as we did with the high pressure sodium. So on that aspect too, we are so happy to help the customers out and make sure that we keep those lights on when they should be on, and we don't get those calls as often. So I think that's a big point, or a great point to make too, is just as far as the customer service aspect is going to be much improved.
Oh, great work. Great work. Good conversation here today, guys. The Focus on Shelton, brought to you by our Community Credit Union. Craig Gregory from Public Works, Joel Myer from PUD 3. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas if I don't see you guys.
Merry
Thank
Christmas
you.
to
You
you.
too.
You guys have a good rest of your day. It's